When we look at the biggest battle shonen series, most of them always have a certain type of arc in the story, and that is a tournament arc. Tournament arcs are some of the most popular story arcs in anime and manga, and they seem to be so loved by most fans who consume these series. When you ask someone what their favorite arc is in some of their favorite anime, chances are that they will at least put them in the top 3 favorite arcs. Even when you look at series like get so much hate, like Fairy Tail for example, most people who watch it admit that they like the Grand Magic Games arc the most, or they might say like some of the best parts about Fairy Tail. But why? Why do tournament arcs leave such a lasting impression on people? I think I know the answer, so I'm going to go through the reasons why tournament arcs are so beloved by fans. So one of the reasons why tournament arcs are so loved is because they give its side characters their time to shine. When you look at the other arcs in the same anime, people could say that the main character took most of the screen time because of how the arc may have been structured. But with the tournament arc, it gives them the opportunity to show what they can do, and it starts to become more memorable that way because of what they did in the tournament. In the sports festival, we really got to see what the other classmates in Class 1A and Class 1B could do with their quirks in each of the mini games and the tournament at the end. Characters like Tokiyami, Todoroki, Shinzo, and Monoma, they all had great introductions in the series because of this arc, and it makes you want to see more of them because you might like their quirks or their character. The tuning exams gave fights to each genin from the Kono at 12, with Rock Lee especially becoming a fan favorite because of his fight against Gaara. Sakura also had some cool moments in the Forest of Death and her fight against Ino as well. Team 10 were properly introduced in this arc as well, and they became very important in the story in the future, especially Shikamaru. The same thing also applies to the Sand siblings, with Gaara being one of the most integral parts of the Naruto series. The Talk Tournament introduces to characters like Jin the Windmaster and Chu, who both had great fights against Yusuke. Kurabara, Hiei, and Kurama, they all had great moments and many fights in the tournament as well, and this makes you appreciate Team Urameshi a lot more as the arc goes on. In every Tenkaichi Budokai tournament from the original Dragon Ball, Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien, they really had their time to shine, and getting to see how far they have come as martial artists from the Kame school was very satisfying to watch. In the Tournament of Power, all the members of Universe 7, they had fights and were given their time to shine as well. Android 18 didn't do much since the Cell Saga, so it was really nice to see her have some cool moments in the tournament. We had Goku and Frieza work together for the first time, which is easily one of the most iconic moments in modern Dragon Ball. I think the biggest example of this was 17. He was really the MVP of that tournament because of how much he contributed throughout the arc. Android 17 gained a lot of fans because of this, myself included. I became a fan of Android 17 as well because of the Tournament of Power.
That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
The Pride Troopers were also introduced in this arc as well, with Jiren being one of the most popular antagonists of modern Dragon Ball. The Grand Magic Games gave Wendy her own fight against Sheila. They also had great moments in the tournament as well, like fighting against 100 enemies by herself to gain all the points for her team. And Kana also had her time to shine when she was very glitter. And there's many more examples like the Royal Knights exam from Black Clover, Battle City from Yu-Gi-Oh!, Culling Games and the Joint School Training arc from Jujutsu Kaisen. So because tournament arcs give the opportunity for the side characters to showcase their abilities in the tournament, they're given the chance to have really great moments and have memorable fights which you can look back on and appreciate, and it makes you want to see more of those characters in the long run. Another reason why tournament arcs are so successful is because of how they settle rivalries between the characters. Rivalries in stories are always so engaging to watch, and to see that rivalry be settled in the tournaments can add a satisfying end to that rivalry, or in most cases, create a rivalry between the characters. Rivalries can be created in tournament arcs by making the main character argue or have some conflict with another participant during the tournament, and this tension and conflict creates a rivalry between them and makes the audience want to see them settle their differences by the end of the tournament. Examples of this are Naruto and Neji after seeing Neji try to kill Hinata, Goku and Tien after seeing Tien break Yamcha's leg, Fairy Tail and Sabretooth when we see how Sabretooth treat their guildmates like tools, which goes against what the Fairy Tail stands for when they treat each other like friends instead, and in the Royal Knights exam when we see Language try to kill his brother Finral. Most rivalries are settled in the finals or close to the finals by the end of the arc, which is a great way of building up the fight between these rivals. In the Dark Tournament, what made Yusuke vs Toguro so great was because of how it was built up throughout the tournament. Their first fight was during the Yukina arc in the mansion, and we find out that Toguro was only holding back during that fight. Seeing Toguro easily one-shot his opponents with zero effort further built up their fights because it showcases how powerful he really is, and Yusuke is the only one that can defeat him, as he is a student of Genkai. Seeing Team Urameshi win throughout the entire tournament also builds up the excitement of seeing them fight in the finals eventually, and the same thing applies to with all 3 of the Tenkaichi Budokai tournaments in Dragon Ball. In the first one, we see Jackie Chan beat every opponent in the tournament, like Krillin and Yamcha, with some effort, and this leads to the finals between Goku and Jackie Chan, but then Goku loses, and it's this loss that teaches Goku that no matter how strong you get, there is always someone stronger than you. And it is that same mindset that Goku has kept in his mind all the way through Dragon Ball Z, and even Dragon Ball Super in the current day. In the second tournament, we finally see the fight between Goku and Krillin, 2 sibling students who trained under Master Roshi, during the semi-finals, which was a brilliant way to show how they both compare in terms of their martial arts, because tournament arcs gave that chance for best friends with a friendly rivalry to also go against each other. But I think the best example of using rivalry in the Tenkaichi Budokai was Goku vs Piccolo in the 23rd tournament. This conflict between Goku and Piccolo has been ongoing ever since Tambourine killed Krillin, when King Piccolo made his move to collect the Dragon Balls. Goku then trains for 3 years on Takami to prepare for Piccolo Jr., who was a reincarnation of King Piccolo, and this fight does not disappoint at all. And this is due to the massive build-up that led to this fight. And seeing Goku finally win the tournament for the first time ever is always so beautiful to watch, because it completes his character journey ever since he was a child.
This shit means something to me, man.
And in Battle City in Yu-Gi-Oh!, we have Yugi vs Kaiba in the semi-finals. Yugi and Kaiba have dueled each other a few times before their duel in Battle City. It all began from episode 1 when he used Exodia against Kaiba, and then they duel again in Duel Kingdom, when Kaiba literally threatens to take his own life in order to win, because he wanted to save his brother Mokiba. So because of that, Kaiba ended up winning that duel. So they each have 1 win and 1 loss, and they finally get to settle things during Battle City, making it one of the longest duels in Yu-Gi-Oh!, but also one of the best duels at the same time. Seeing they both use their god cards against each other, new cards that they added to their deck, and the ace monsters who they've used since the beginning in this duel really adds a lot of enjoyment and entertainment to this duel. This duel also holds more narrative weight as well, after we learned about their connection to Egypt centuries ago, so this duel seems like they were fated to become rivals, and Yugi besting Kaiba at the end was the perfect way to end the duel.
It was perfect.
Giving characters new power-ups during the tournament arc is another reason why they are so loved. This can happen either at the beginning of the tournament, by the end of the tournament, or when a character uses a hidden technique they already had and is used only when necessary. When characters power up at the beginning, it could be due to them training in preparation for the tournament, and then seeing them use their new techniques or new transformations already makes the tournament interesting, and it also has you excited for what's to come in the tournament. A good example from this is Hiei using his Dragon of the Darkness Flame technique, which he tried to master by the time the Dark Tournament started. Once he used it, he immediately killed his opponent, showing how powerful the technique is, and as the tournament went on, we see him try to control it even further, and uses it in different ways like the Sword of the Darkness Flame. Another example is Yamcha's Spirit Ball technique, and Tien's Clone technique from the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai. The addition of these techniques made their fights more interesting, and even though they both lost, their fights were still appealing and were worth the investment. And with characters getting powers by the end around the finals, this increases the intensity of the fight, making the fight more engaging to watch, and also makes the fight worth the wait at the end. Yusuke taking off his Spirit Shackles is a great example of this, and also when Toguro went 100% for the first time in the tournament. Toguro has always held back his strength against his opponents ever since we were introduced to him, so seeing him go full power makes the fight much more memorable and really raises the stakes of the fight. Goku unlocking Ultra Instinct and mastering it by the end was iconic to the point where he broke the internet, making it one of the most iconic transformations in the last decade. Deku going 100% isn't a new power-up since we already saw him go full power in Season 1, but to see him go 100% for the first time in the Sports Reservoir against Todoroki, who was arguably the strongest in Class 1A at the time, it was really surprising since we know the massive drawback of Deku going 100%. And also seeing Todoroki use his left side for the first time is also a very impactful moment as well. Naruto using the Nine-Tails Chakra against Neji is also another example, since this is the first time we see him use the Nine-Tails Chakra at will, and he uses it again to summon Gamabunto against Gaara at the end of the Konoha Crush arc. It shows how far Naruto has come, and to see him finally defeat Gaara at the end, who was the strongest genin in the Chunin exams, it was a great way in ending the Chunin exams arc. Sasuke using Chidori as well for the first time, that's another great moment as well in the Chunin exams during the final stage against Gaara, because this was built up ever since Sasuke and Gaara were introduced to each other at the beginning. And characters using their hidden techniques in the tournament for the first time always happens in tournament arcs. The biggest examples in the Chunin exams are Rock Lee using the Egg Gate, and Neji using his Gentle Fist techniques against Naruto. In Dragon Ball, Tien using his Tri Beam and the Forearm technique against Goku in the finals of the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. It made the fight more intense and made the fight look like it was going back and forth, because Goku had to find ways to deal with Tien's techniques. In the Sports Reservoir, we see Ido use Reciprocal Burst in the cavalry battle, and that was his best moment in the arc because he allowed his team to swipe one of Deku's headbands. In the Royal Knights exam, Yuno using his Spirit Dive technique against Real, it was a massive highlight in that arc, because Yuno was able to go toe-to-toe with a Magic Knights captain, and then after that, Yuno's team even managed to win the tournament because of this. And the last example I can give is Kurama using his Yoku Kurama form for the first time. It's a bit different to the other examples because Kurama couldn't use that form at will at the time, but to see him in his previous form before he became a human, it adds more depth to his character, and then we realise that he actually wasn't fighting at full power when we were first introduced to him. And lastly, I think that the final reason why tournament arcs are so loved is that they're quite simple actually. Although people tend to like arcs that are more complex and more intricate, sometimes having an arc with a simple plot can be as enjoyable as the more complex ones. Most tournament arcs are very straightforward, and we know how the arc is going to go on based on how the tournament is structured, but that doesn't mean it won't be interesting because of that. Sometimes just having a tournament to get the chance to see your favorite characters fight and face off against each other is enough to grab your attention. You can be someone who has never watched the beginning of a certain anime series, and if you were to skip to the tournament arc, you'll most likely understand what's going on still, because of how simplistic the tournament is, unlike most arcs. It's kind of like watching the World Cup, which is the world's biggest sports event, a world tournament to see which national team can become the best in the world. No matter how many World Cups they'll hold, people will always have an interest in it, even if they're not football fans. So because tournament arcs are quite simple compared to other arcs, people can find a lot of entertainment value from it by just turning their brain off and just getting invested in how the tournament's gonna go. Like with the hunter exams, what makes it so appealing is that we get this chance to see how Gon becomes a hunter, and how he can showcase his hunter skills against other opponents like Hisoka for example. And what makes the tuning exam so appealing is that we're given the chance to see if Naruto could become a chunin, because being a chunin is Naruto's first step to becoming Hokage. And with every world tournament in Dragon Ball, part of the reason why it's so appealing is because we get to see who becomes the strongest underneath the heavens, and seeing Goku and Krillin test their limits against other people around the world, that's what makes it really interesting to watch. And the same also applies to many other tournament arcs, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Haikyuu or Kuroko in a Basket. So these are my reasons for why I think tournament arcs are so memorable and why they get so much love in the community. Let me know what your favourite tournament arc is in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe.